You're a failure.
And that's okay. Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Alicia.
And
we're failures too.
We take a walk back through people's failures and relive the mistakes they made so we all can have more clarity in how to be a better human.
Welcome to the 2020 Perspective, where we make failure fun.
This might surprise you because I'm such a stellar driver, but I actually failed the written portion of my driver's ed test the first time I took it. Have you ever failed a test that you know you should have aced? In this episode, our guest failed a critical test that was the gatekeeper for his career, and he failed it more than once. His story is one of digging deep to find that personal motivation to keep going along the path and not taking failure as the final destination. Chip Baker is an educator who comes from a legacy of educators and has dedicated his work to helping others as a coach and special ed teacher. He's also a speaker and podcast host of the Success Chronicles, where he interviews people on their stories of success, motivation, and inspiration. In this episode of the 2020 Perspective, Chip shows us how the way you react to failure is more important than the failure itself. Welcome to the 2020 Perspective. Hey Chip, thanks for being here today.
Hello, thanks so much for having me on.
We're happy to hear your failure story and enlighten us with your juicy tale. And you're also a podcast host too, so I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people and heard about their stories of success and failures. So you've got a lot of information, knowledge bombs you can drop on us today.
Well, I hope so. We'll see. I hope it's not crickets. No, no. It's really been neat. It's really been a cool journey. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a fourth generation educator, blessed and fortunate to be raised by some great people as well as to be around some awesome folks to learn from in my career, and that goes into my failure story. I think. So you hear the background and what it's all about. And so when I graduated from college, coming out of college, as a teacher, you have to have certification courses or test exams that you take. And so for me, there were 3 that I had to take. Of course, you do your professional development one, and then you take tests that are in the field that you're going to go teach in. And so for me, coming out, I was a coach. And special education was my minor. And so, I passed the professional test, passed the physical education test, but I had a hard time with that special ed test. And really that test, it took me a couple years to get to where I could pass it. And I'm very fortunate that there was people that believed in me, that didn't just throw me away and say he hadn't completed all this, but they figured out a way for me to continue to teach, based off of what I had. So they, I was fortunate that they found value in me and thought that I was enough to still be there to make a difference. And so, and like I said, the back story is like all my family's educators.
And so that was like the motivation. You're part of a legacy.
Right. So, I mean, it's in the blood, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so, here I am, man, I can't pass the test, and so, you feel like a failure, but then I think as you grow through that, and I didn't say go through, because in that process, there's lots of things that you learn. In that process, you learn that, you still have value. You understand that failure is not final. Right.
So can you zoom in on that first time you took the test so that what were you feeling? What were you thinking going into it? How did you feel in it? And how did you feel what happened afterwards? What was that little arc there?
Yeah, so going into it, I felt that I had studied. I felt that I had some experience going into it, because I had been voluntold a lot to help out with my parents, my mother and what she did. So I kind of had a idea of, I felt like I did, going in. Of course, taking like anything is, had some nervousness going on with that. And then after written, it was a written test. And so, Yeah. And so from there, once I got the results, and I had to take it a few times, and I got to where I was like, well, one time I was within like 2 points from passing it. And so it was just like, ugh, And so, I mean, just those kind of things. But for me, I think I was going to get it. It was just a matter of time because I had worked all my life to do this, right? And so for me, there was no not doing it. It was no turning back, so it was just a matter of me figuring out how I was going to get it done. And so I just continued to work, put myself around some people that I could learn some things from, test taking strategies, those kind of things. Really worked hard in the job that I had because, like I said, I had people that showed me that they still believed in me. And it allowed me to go on, and eventually I passed it, after a couple years. But then the flip side of that, which I'm so proud of now, I'm about to go into my 22nd year in education. And, throughout my career, I've made Teacher of the Year twice. 1 year I was in a top 6 finalist. I've been a head coach, head football coach, athletic director. I've got my master's degree in administration. So if I had quit then and gave up, then I wouldn't have been able to, and those are personal things, but then like you think about all of the positive difference in the lives of so many kids that I've been able to be a part of, which is why I do what I do, and so just to be able to do that, it's really been a neat journey.
So, not to press, because it sounds like there's been a whole heap of goodness that's come from the struggle, but let's go back to that juicy failure and bring us back to when you were in the throes of like, oh man, I didn't pass this test again, and I have to go back to the drawing board. And each time that you did that, you said you had to take the test a couple of times, like every time that you did it, what were you saying to yourself? What was your internal dialogue? You said you surrounded yourself with people who were A, believing in you, and B, who were helping you with the technical piece. Like, tell us more about that. What's your narrative inside your head, and then what are you looking for from these different people that are helping you progress each time you were taking that test?
I think so. Just to attack the narrative first, for me, like I said earlier, I was gonna do it, so it was no, hey, I hope, so in my mind and in my heart, I was gonna do whatever it took for me to do to pass that test.
Was there no option for failure?
Yeah, none. Like if I set my mind to something, then like it's like you can count it done. You know what I'm saying? It may take me a little longer to get it done, but like in my mind and my heart, I knew that, I was going to pass the test. I just needed to figure out a way to pass the test. And I was willing to do that. And so, going into it, just like anything that I do in my life, I'm not shooting out to do anything average, right? And so like my mother, told me a long time ago, as a kid, boy, if you're going to do something, you do it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she put the boy in front of it too. Boy, if you don't do this, if you go
She's
do something,
letting you remember that you're the son and she's the mom.
Yeah,
she's the boss still.
Or she hit me with my whole name, right? First, middle, and last name, and tell me,
really get your attention.
That's it. But I've just been taught and raised that way that if you are gonna do something, commit to it and do it right. And so for me, I had committed to it, and I was gonna make sure that I did it the right way. And so, going into it, the narrative was, hey, just give your all. Just do the best you can do, and really that's all I can do. And so that was kind of my narrative. But then, when you asked about, what was I looking for from the people around me that I sought out for, I was just really just looking for things that they could help me with, things that I could learn, tricks of the trade. When you see this, look for this. When you see this, they're asking for this. Things to help me decipher the information. numbers, statistics. What is my thought process going into these types of questions? So just the methodology of how to like test taking strategies, were some of the things that I sought out to learn as well. So those were some of the things that I was trying to learn.
I've been through some times where I either failed or didn't quite achieve something, and there's some people who I go out to and I'm like, I'm going to you, I need help with this, can you help me with that? And then there's these kind of people who it's kind of like the world pushes them onto me. Like I wouldn't have asked them, but then they just happen to be there and they happen to be what I needed.
Right.
Did you have something like that? And what did you discover that you needed, but you didn't realize you needed?
I did have that. Again, I was very fortunate to have that. And that's my whole life, really. I've been fortunate to be placed around great environments where there's good people that really just looked out for me, that said, hey, I want to teach you how to do this because you're going to be doing this one day, those kind of people. And so there were people around me that knew that, that I didn't do well on the test, and, that they, took it upon themselves to say, hey, I heard that you didn't pass your test, just continue to encourage me, hey, don't get down about it, just keep working on it. Or, let me know what I can do to help you. I have a friend that teaches a class on these kind of strategies, and so, I was referred to that. And then, through the university, I think it's really neat now how they have lots of supports, so now I was also able to take some other classes through the university, like side study groups or some things like that. And so that was very beneficial for me.
Did you have any naysayers? Anyone being like, nah, give up, nah, walk away?
Dan, I don't believe in all of that. Like I have my blinders on. I tell people, my blood type is B positive. Right? And I try to stay away from those people with the blood type of O negative, right?
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
So for me, and of course, negative is out there, but I think it's all in our perspective. What kind of lenses do you have on? Are you looking through it with your positive perspective lenses, or are you looking for the negative? So for me, like I only see the good, the positive, because I'm hyper focused on what I want to accomplish, and nothing else matters. Like what you think about what I do, that's none of my business, right? Because I'm really focused on what I'm doing, and so that's just kind of my mindset and perspective on anything I do.
Interesting. So, I mean, do you think that this perspective that you have, I'm really into perspectives. So do you think that this positive outlook and perspective and this lens that you have that allows you to see things, in the more optimistic viewpoint, do you think that that's learned, or is that something inside of you that's just naturally there?
I think it's definitely learned. I don't know maybe there is a positive gene or something. I don't know, but I think it is learned. I think for me, just like working out, reps make you better, right? So for me to get to that place in my life where I can say without a doubt, hey, I'm not worried about what anybody else thinks. Like that comes along with a lot of hurt. That comes along with a lot of experiences of growing through some things. That comes with a lot of experiences of not having. It comes with a lot of experiences of going through tough things, but having people there to help you. I think it's a whole mix of, your environment, your experiences, your relationships, the things that you've been blessed to see and achieve. I think when you put all of those things together, it shapes and molds your perspective. I think that's what's gotten me to where I am with that. Also an athlete, so really, I guess maybe I just look at everything from the football player perspective. My thinking is, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I've put in the time to work my tail off every moment of every day. Right now, I don't care who you are that's across from me, I've outworked you. You know what I'm saying? So I know, like I've put in more work than anybody that I know, and that's how I feel about it. So I'm confident, not in an arrogant way, not because I don't believe in that either, but just a humble and hungry confidence, right? Like, man, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I'm trying to get it, right? And so I think that's where that mindset and that perspective comes from.
I think that's a really cool example, because I think athletics is a place that builds so much emotional fortitude.
Oh my gosh, so much.
At the end of a game, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose.
Right.
And if you're actually playing, you're going to lose sometime.
Right. Yeah.
And you're going to have to like build that failure muscle, simply because that's part of the game. I think that's super powerful. So,
and I look at it like this, as not just winning and losing. I look at it as winning and learning. And you can apply that just like it was for the test for me. You can apply that just like it was in a game or whatever it is. Okay, it's great that you won, and we want to get wins. But like you said, in every situation, somebody's got to lose, right? So when you do that, how are you going to handle it? The ability to be able to bounce back from that allows you the ability to be able to move forward quicker, right? And so you have to go watch the tape, if you will, to see, okay, ooh, man, I stepped wrong with this foot. I was in the wrong zone. I didn't do this. So now, as the test, I picked C instead of A when it should have been this. I didn't know this statistic about this area and these types of kids. Oh, well, I sought to learn that information. So now when I go take the test again, when I go in life, go experience that thing again, or when I play the game again, I'm better than I was the last time, because like I said, I've put in the work to be better. And so I think that's how we can apply that to our lives.
let's take a quick break.
Do you want to bring the 2020 perspective insights to your team, community group, or company? This season, we're opening the door to talk with you about your failures and engage in a dialogue with the community that matters to you.
For this season only, we're running a special offer called the Failure to Findings Talk, where we can help you learn from failure and build a culture around being a successful failure.
Reach out to us at hello@the2020perspective.com and let us know you're interested in the Failure to Findings Talk. Again, that's hello@the2020perspective.com.
Let's fail out loud together. And now back to the failure. When you say that you play the tape again, I'm going to assume that means that you self-reflect. You look back and you say, how did I do that? So what are some ways that you self-reflect or that you play the tape to learn so you can use it moving forward?
You mean with the test or in my life now?
In your life.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, because that's huge for me. Just reflection.
Let us know. We want to hear.
Just the process of reflection. So I have a SHG principle that I have: show up, have a great attitude, and give your all. I think when you do that every day, it allows you to have great days, and you stack those days, great weeks, great months, great years, and what eventually happens is when I go get to visit the big man, I will have not just left a legacy, but I will have lived a legacy by my day-to-day actions. And so that's the action part of that. But the reflection and the mindset part of that is, I have some things that are important to me in my life, and I prioritize my time based on that. And so my goal is to be the best version of myself in each one of those areas each day, right? So, and if I don't do that, then now I have to reflect at the end of the day and then make that up tomorrow. I hit the ground running by SHG, and tomorrow focusing in on, those things that I want to be better at. And so for me, that is the key component of what I use personally in my life to do that. And I think what it allows you to do is it really allows you to be hyper focused in on your goals and what you want to accomplish. And organically what happens is you eliminate the distractions. You don't hear those naysayers, Dan. What happens is, you organically really get focused in and in tuned on what it is you're trying to accomplish. And then those things happen. And it blows you away because wait a minute. Oh, yeah, let's go. And then, as you get more reps, like I said, reps make you better and you do it again. So now I can say with confidence that, I'm at that place because I've experienced all of those learning lessons or losses, if you will, and I've honed in my system.
So one of the things that this might get kind of abstract and might get a little too deep here.
Let's go.
I hate running, and I hate it because I always end up failing to reach my goals with running.
Right.
And then there's points where I'm failing at failing well. So, that time where you've lost so many games, you just want to give up, or you've taken the test so many times, you want to say, maybe this isn't for me. I mean, how do you manage when the fails really start to line up? How do you move past a stream of failures?
That's deep. I think when you look at the long term, you may get overwhelmed with the feeling of it's so much on me, right? Like you said, it's so much. But I think first, like I said, with the SHG principle, I just focus on the day. I just focus on chunk your time. I focus on this moment of time. Am I present in this moment? Am I in this mile that I'm running? How did I do on the 100? Okay. How did I do on the 200? Okay, how did I do? I made it to a quarter, yes, okay, I'm on 2 laps, and so you just chunk your time. And I think when you do that, I'm not worried about a mile, maybe I can go 2 miles before I know, really just focusing in on pushing myself. And then the next day when I go out, then now I focus, okay, well, if I got a good mile today, well, I'm gonna go a mile and a 200, so you just continue to push yourself and stretch yourself and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's what we have to do. We have to always put ourselves in positions to make sure that we stretch ourselves.
I like what you said about chunking things, and it allows you to be better at staying in the present. I think part of my life mission is figuring how to live in the present, because that's when you are the most energized and when you are giving and receiving and exchanging energy with people. And so it's how do you always try to be in the present even when you're maybe planning for the future or strategizing or reflecting on the past? It's really hard to do, but I think that this idea of chunking and taking big ideas and goals and making them bite-sized allows you to keep that momentum going. Before when we were talking earlier, before we started recording, we were talking about creating a podcast, because you have a podcast too, and all the work that goes into it. And if we had known before we started all the work, we probably wouldn't have done it, but we were right, but we found out as we went along. It was just kind of organically chunked for us because we couldn't see past where we were in the process, in that moment, in the present. So, and here we are, we actually got it done, right? I think that I'm talking out loud, but I'm also telling myself, I'm thinking out loud, but I'm telling myself I need to chunk more things, because that's how you get it done. You're in the moment, you see just a small piece, and then you reach that success and you can keep adding to it.
And I'll hit you with this too. We all wear many hats. We're all involved in lots. And so if you don't find a system to where you simplify things, or you're going to be stuck. Because you're going to drown in all of that, and you won't be able to get through that and see. So, and that's my way, because I can tell you, so in my life, my faith, family, job, my personal growth, relationships, making a difference, being present, having a good attitude, giving effort, being the glue. Like those are the 10 things that I have, like I told you about, that I really work on every day, and I call it a balanced pie. That's what I have. So if you picture like a pie chart, and then we know that the pie chart, the total is 100, but for me there's like 10 sections in my pie, and it's unacceptable for me to give 10% to any of that, right? So my pie chart's like 1,000. Okay, so
It's a lot of pie.
it's it. That's
Yeah.
right, man. That's why I love pie. Let's go. And so for me, I have to have a system by which I operate, which allows me to move efficiently and effectively.
So I actually signed up for a coaching program just last week because I felt like I didn't have that system. Like I didn't have that, hey, do
Yeah.
this and that's all you have to worry about for now. And I'm kind of curious, like, how would you recommend people to develop their system or find the system that works for them? Because you found your pie, I found Taki the Taco, that's what I call him, and like everyone finds their like guru to guide from. So how did you come up with your model, and how would you recommend other people to find the model that works for them?
Well, really, that's all come from self-reflection. She asked about the reflective piece. Like I'm an introverted person. Like I don't do a lot of hey out there, but I really take time to really reflect, because it's important to me to be the best version of myself. I have lots of people depending on me, and so my goal is to make sure that I'm the best version of myself so that I can be great for them. And so that's kind of where it's come from. I just prioritize what's important to me. And so that's where I started. I think you have to start with, okay, what are the things that are important to you? What are the things that you're trying to accomplish? And really just figuring out your why. I think once you figure out what your why is, I think it allows you to be in alignment with your assignment. And what I mean by that, yeah, come on. And what I mean by that is, yeah, let's go. What I mean by that is, just like I said, like when you know what you're about, when you know what you're striving to achieve, nothing else is important. You know what I'm saying? And so you devote all your time and your energy, and now I'm like it. I don't know, like your path is like lit, like legit. It's lit, like like your path seems like it's lit and like you're floating, right? But really, what it is it's come from you growing through all of those things. It's come from you reflecting. It's come from you knowing what you want, knowing who you are, knowing whose you are. And so, when you're in that lane, watch out. It'll surprise you the things that you will achieve. And I'm a living testament of that. Like every day, it blows me away. Like, man, this is crazy. Man, really? And so you're just grateful for the opportunities, but then still putting yourself in a situation so where you're stretching yourself.
I'm digging it.
Cool.
I'm digging it. I like the alignment with my assignment.
Me too. You should be like trademarking some of these sayings. I hope that you
It's
are.
like a Zig
You've got
Ziglar kind of
lot.
guy.
I hope to be, man, if I could get to half of what Zig Ziglar has did, and then I would think that it's been a pretty good life.
What kind of final thoughts would you want to pass along to listeners of the 2020 Perspective? I mean, there are failure friends wherever they are, but any final thoughts?
Sure. I think I just want, the listeners, viewers, whoever, just want you to know that whatever it is that you want to achieve in life, you are capable of achieving that. I'm an acronym guy, so I'll give you an acronym, and I have LPOs, and it starts with the mindset. It starts with the perspective. For those of us that wear glasses, before we got those glasses, we thought that we saw things in a great way, right? But then we put the glasses on, and it kind of clears things up for us. Like I didn't know trees had leaves. Like that's
Oh my God, that is
like
the first
yeah,
thing that I said
right,
when I got my new
yeah,
contacts and glasses.
right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
man, that is clear. And so it starts with the perspective and the mindset. And so the L is limits. If you limit yourself, you limit yourself. it's important that we don't limit ourselves. Okay, the only person that can hold us back is ourselves. So like go out there and achieve things. The possibilities are possible. Again, like I said, whatever you think it is that you would like to achieve, you are capable. You can do it. And again, I'm a living testament of that. And then opportunities bring opportunities. Be present, be in the moment with the opportunities that you have right now. Because what that does is people see you growing through those challenges, like we talked about when we first started with my test, and they saw how I handled that. And so, the principal that saw me at that school, he was an assistant principal at the time. He got a head principal job at another school. He asked me to come help open the school and work for him because he saw how I handled the adversity through that failure. I didn't quit. I didn't give up. I showed up every day. I had a great attitude, and I gave my all regardless. And so that gave me an opportunity based off of that. So LPOs, limits, possibilities, opportunities. Go get it.
Something that stood out for me is he was so adamant about failure not being an option. Aside from the fact that he had lots of fun acronyms and like little takeaway nuggets, he didn't even register in his brain that failure is not an option. And so it made me think about this thing that I've been thinking about for a while. If people are born with a certain level of optimism or pessimism, and I do believe that we obviously, like, our environment, our situation, the way that we were raised, influences the lens through which we see the world.
Okay.
And I do think that you can learn ways to try to put yourself into a more optimist state of mind. Mm-hmm. But is there a certain level that people have that they're just born with? And they're just naturally motivated and going to go for it and see life through more rose-colored glasses than others?
I think, so on the topic of optimism versus, is it pessimism or just not optimism? I mean, what would you say is the other side of the spectrum there?
I mean, I think it's pessimism. I feel like that's the polar opposite of it.
Okay.
I feel like that's the spectrum. But, I'm open to other thoughts.
All right. So I think first thing is I want to agree with the statement that people are born with a certain baseline of optimism, pessimism. I think everyone's born on a different baseline. And yeah, their environment affects it quite a bit. But practically speaking, you can't change what you're born with, and you can't change your frame of reference. So it's almost like I acknowledge that people have different baselines, but for me, myself, there's no comparison. That's all I know. And so what I do have control over is whether I approach the world more positively or negatively. Mm-hmm. And that's the choice, and that's the nurture side. Is I think, if you're raised in an environment and you embrace an environment where you think more positively, or you think that things are going to work out better, more likely than worse, I think that will change how you go forward in life. So, yeah, people, of course, are born different, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter because me as an individual can't change that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so one of the things that he said in the episode that he does to, I guess, stay in that more optimistic state is he surrounds himself with positive people, or people who can help him in the areas where he tends to struggle. So he knew that this test where he was not doing well, and he knew that he needed help. And so he would reach out to certain people and created this community, like we're doing with failure, to help support him through it. And I think there's a level of vulnerability in that. There's a level of courage, and kind of just being self-aware that you're, I don't want to say deficient, but maybe those the spectrum, you're on the end, or closer to the other side of where you don't want to be. And you have to check yourself and say, okay, who can help me bring this up a notch and put those people in your life intentionally? I
think that's key. And I loved that perspective. The idea, the phrase is you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. And most of the times you're looking at that as like, well, you're just born with the family you have. Well, look at the other side of this coin is you can choose the people you surround yourself with. You can choose to join the communities. You can reach out and connect with people. You can be intentional about it. I think that there's also the natural inclinations of the types of communities you do want to associate with. So maybe if you're born an optimistic person, you like being around optimistic people. It's just maybe how it is. But I think, and this is, I think, a really hard choice for people to do, is say, I need to be surrounded with people who lift me up. And that I took as a really strong takeaway. And also, like, the athletics angle that Chip was bringing here is that when you're part of a team, you are lifting each other up. And I think athletics is a really great way of choosing to build the community that you want to be successful in. Thanks to No BS Brass Band for the Bang & Show music. Check them out at nobsbrass.com. And subscribe on your favorite podcast player, or follow us on Facebook to get the newest failures delivered right to your ears. And may your failures be spectacular.